Ooh-wee. Welcome back to Sundown Acres. A little bit of fresh bedding. Well, good morning, everybody. So we've been having some cool mornings here in the past couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. It's been quite enjoyable. So we last weekend we went to the Ellis County Poultry Trade Days, and we had a good sell. We sold around 60 or 70 ducks. We've had a couple of calls. About ducks since then as well. We don't have as many to sell. Of course, I'm keeping my breeding stock. It's all right, Tina. We've been keeping our breeding stock. I got them tagged. I had a video on that before. I'll link it right here. But I tagged all the ones that I was going to keep in my breeding stock. I have a few more that are still for sale. I've had a few calls on them. I don't know if people are actually going to come and get them or not. But like I said in previous videos, we'll whatever drakes I don't sell this year will be going to freezer camp, because I'm not going to be. I don't need that many drakes in my flock. Yes. That many drakes in my flock to it'll actually cause more problems, and all I'll be doing is feeding them through the winter, and I don't need to do that. So what I want to talk about today is where I'm at within Sundown Acres, with our ducks and with what we are doing here. So what I have found is that, when I first started this endeavor, taking the eggs, hatching them out, selling the eggs, we haven't sold hardly anything as far as hatching eggs. And I ended up having to raise all the ducks because most people didn't want ducklings. Now people are asking for ducklings for whatever reason it might be. Maybe they have a broody hen, or they have something along those lines that they want to use, want the baby ducks. Of course, I've stopped. My breeding season is over because I don't want to be coming up with new ducks going into the fall and winter time. Even though we have pretty mild winters, I don't want to put the ducklings through that and have to fight the weather and everything going into the fall and the winter time. So I'm going to be concentrating more on my goats right now than I am anything. But what I want to talk about really is my brooder setup. So when I first started, I had decided, I thought I was going to be doing, a daily hatch, and it really didn't work out for me as well as I thought it would. It was a lot more work for me. Yes, I agree. it was a whole lot more work for me in the end than what it really needed to be. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for my spring hatch, I'm going to collect my eggs and seal my brooder for the 28 days it takes to hatch those. And whatever I hatch, whether it be anywhere from 20 to 40 eggs, whatever I hatch out, then that's what I will be selling at my first coming show for next year. That way, and then of course I'll be collecting eggs after. Once those hatch, I'll be start collecting eggs again, preparing for the next show in the next year, the second show for the next year, because the shows are about every 2 months. So of course, whatever I have left over, I'll be taking ducklings. And ducklings, since I won't have very much money into them as far as hatch rate, I'll be selling them a lot cheaper than I would an adult hen or adult duck. I very well may get into sexing them a lot more next year. I did a little bit of sexing this year, but mostly waited until they became adults to sell them as a hen or as a drake. But if I'm able to sell, if I'm able to sex and get pretty good at it, then I'll be able to sell them as they are for a lower price, and that way it doesn't affect me in the long run. It won't be near as much work on my part, I believe, but we're going to try that a little bit. So what I've done is I've actually gone into the brooder house and taken down 3 of the brooder boxes that I had in there, and I made 2 boxes into 1 box, so I would be able to... You are just talkative this morning, aren't you? So I made 1 brooder box, 2 brooder boxes into 1 brooder box, which is a nice big brooder box, so I can fit about 30 or 40 ducklings in there without any issues. Raise them up to almost 5 or 6 weeks old before I put them outside, if I have to do that. But I don't plan on actually doing that. I actually plan on trying to set them up to where they're hatching out before a show, and we're taking 30 to 40 sexed ducklings to a show to sell to people who would want them. Especially in the springtime, people are really looking for those ducks or those ducklings. They're wanting to raise them up, wanting to get them in their flock at an early age, and that's a great thing. And the great thing about buying from a breeder like myself, we're certified, the birds are tested every year, we get our site inspection, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out for somebody who's actually buying the birds from us. So we have to keep records of everybody who has bought a bird from us. I'm gonna put her down. She's very talkative. There you go, Tina. There you go, girl. So we keep really good records of the birds that we sell to our customers, and we have to do that because it's state law. So by us doing this, I think I'm going to change it. I'm not going to make, because this year I have made absolutely no money. It actually cost me more to raise my ducks than actually what I made off of them. I've probably spent close to $1,000, $1,200 between feed and actually more than that if you consider the brooder house, the time I've spent, the incubator, and all the feed. But just in feed alone, I've probably spent pretty close to $1,200 in feed, and only brought in about $700 for the year off selling the ducks. So of course I lost several ducks through the year. I lost some of my breeders. You see that in other videos. I've lost quite a few of the birds, whether it be from predators, which we actually haven't had that big of a predator problem. Our main predator problem was aerial predators. We did lose a chicken. Dolly got got eaten probably about a week or so ago. Well, actually less than a week ago. It was actually probably sometime during this last week. And it's really nobody's fault. She actually got out of the yard. So it may have been some of my fault. Maybe I should have clipped their wings more often. It looks like she jumped up on the fence, hopped over the fence, and it looks like either a local dog or a coyote got a hold of her. So, because the feathers are all laying out, and I'll show that to y'all in a little bit. But as far as my plans for next year, I'm going to be doing less birds. I'm going to be doing, I'm going to concentrate on the better looking ones, better genetics for my birds. Like I said, I have, if you look right here, I'll put the video of Flounder, which is one of my breeders that I kept this year. And he's actually, he's a gorgeous drake, and I'm hoping to get a lot of really nice birds like him out of my next batch starting next year. So guys, I gotta get this brooder house cleaned up, and I'm gonna get started on that. Still haven't finished cleaning out the mess from last year, but I'm now gonna start using this for storage for my feed, for taking a lot of, and I've got a little bit of electrical problem, so my heat lamps aren't working in here right now, so I've got to figure out what's going on with that. Alright guys, so let's get to it. Alright everybody, so what did I learn my first year of raising ducks? So I raised around 300 ducks this year out of my initial 18 that I had here on the farm. And I'll show you a video right here when I first brought them home, started showing them around. So what I've learned is that you can never tell what's going on or what's going to happen on your little farm. I learned that raising ducks and that number by yourself is a daunting task. Hatching, egg turning, feeding, watering, that has to go on every day, all day long. Well, not all day long, but every day you gotta come out and make sure everybody has plenty of food, plenty of water. And when you end up having 40 or 50 ducks that hatch out in one hatch, it becomes a repetitive, it becomes a really big deal for taking care of that many birds, especially when you have 25 hatching one day and then 15 hatch the next day, and then 10 or 15 hatching the day after that, because my incubator will hold close to 400 eggs if I do it right. And if you're going in, you're doing a rotational hatch, you put in, you take out, you put in, you take out, you put in, you take out. Every time you're pulling some out, you're putting some in. That will make for a lot of different age ducks, and I think that's where I really made a mistake as far as doing that. So next year, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my ducks, so the number of eggs that I'm probably going to be doing 40 at a time, and then I'm going to have them all hatch out at the same time before I put another egg in there. All other eggs that I collect after they go into the incubator will then be going to be sold or eaten. So sold for hatching for others and eating for myself and whoever else wants to buy eggs for eating or hatching. So that way I'm not dealing with 100 ducklings at one time, or 70 or 80 ducklings at one time. So as far as my brooder setup, and the reason it was so difficult for me this time is because by me doing a rotational hatch, I couldn't keep 1 day olds with 3 week olds. So I had to have 5 different brooder boxes to set them up. The first week they stayed in the brooder in the house, and I had 5 boxes out here in the brooder house each with heat lamps. And what I would do is that every week everybody would get transferred over till 6 weeks of age, and then they would come outside to the farm, to the duck yard. So the problem with that is that it means I had to get water for 5 different boxes out here, plus the birds that were in the house. All right, clean up after them, fresh bedding for them, and food for them on 5 different. So that started eating up a lot of my time in the afternoons when I came home from work and started taking care of them. So by me switching this down to where I'm just going to have one brooder box, okay, they'll spend again, like I did before, they'll probably spend the first week or so, or first few days in the house. Any sickly ducks or whatever that don't make it in that first week, then they'll be coming out here to the brooder box where they'll spend the next 5 weeks. All right, and that way I have one watering system that I have to worry about, and just one set of ducks to worry about taking care of, and one pen to clean. Before I was having to clean 5 different boxes, so it became a very repetitive thing of spending a lot of my time cleaning out all those different boxes. And what this is going to do is I'm going to try to time these hatches to where I'm coming down to a show. And I'm probably actually only going to be doing 3 shows next year. All right, and I'm going to focus on quality over quantity, and really concentrate on a really good looking khaki Campbell duck. So I'm going to put a link right here to a video that I made called Meet Flounder. And Flounder is one of my breeders that I kept this year. And he is an absolute gorgeous duck. And if you really want to see what he looks like, just take a quick gander at that video. But other things that I've learned. One of the things that I learned is that when I put the insulation in here, I did it to do 2 things. For the winter time, if I wanted to do a winter hatch, it would actually be able to keep the temperature regulated. And 2, in the summertime, when the sun's beating on the side of this metal building, that heat does not come into the building like it would otherwise. So you have a metal building, metal roof, and you have that sun coming up in the east and coming over, and so it's got about 10 hours, 10, 12 hours a day, 8 to 12 hours a day with sun hitting this metal building. Well, the reason I put the insulation in is to kind of help regulate that temperature and keep them cool inside. Of course, the door stays open and there's plenty of ventilation. That's not a problem. But what I found out is that ducks like to peck at everything that is shiny. So they quite literally, for as far up as they could reach, tore out the insulation along that side. So a lot of you guys know, I'm pretty sure you know, that wood is an absolute great insulator. So what I'm going to be doing this year, I'm going to be cutting out the portions that they've chewed up, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to put wood. Well, they're not going to peck that wood to pieces like they did that insulation. I'm going to do it up high enough to where they can't reach the insulation from that point on. So we still continue to have the insulation and the protection that they need during both the summertime and the wintertime. If I need to put some birds in here for whatever reason. I still have a couple of quail left over from the show from last weekend. What happened is that the goats got in here, busted open one of my quail cages, and when I came home in the afternoon, I had a bunch of quail fluttering around everywhere. So I thought I had caught them all, but I didn't. So when I come home after the show last weekend, after I collected everybody, I sold all the quail at the show last weekend. I came home and I found 2 out in my yard. So I picked them up and they're back in their cage in here. So now I have 2 quail. I don't know if they're male or female yet. I really haven't paid that much attention to them other than food and water. And I'll be finding out if I've got a male and a female. If I got a male and a female, I may just raise a few more quail for the next show next year. But we'll see how that goes. Quail don't eat very much, they don't drink very much, and so that's a good thing about them. But guys, let me. What I did is I actually came in here and I took down 3 of the brooder boxes. I made 1 large brooder box, so I'll be able to fit my ducks in here from a single hatch with no problems. They'll be able to stay in there 4 or 5 weeks, growing up. 1 way to clean, and 1 pen to clean, 1 pen to get food and water to. So that should cut my work in half of what I was doing this last year, and still allow me to continue on. And as let me show you real quick what that looks like. And I've already got it all cleaned up. I haven't got the wood in, but I'll show you in a later video when I get the wood in. It's going to be real easy to do. So here we go. So I got a couple of chickens in here right now, apparently, that want to come here pecking around. But this is what I was talking about right here, guys, when the ducks went in and just went ahead and just tore that insulation out of there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking that, I'm going to be cutting that flat again, and all the wood that I used when I tore out the other brooder boxes will be used to go in and fill in these places, so I won't have any problems there this morning. Also, when I was cleaning this out this morning, I I found a couple of mice in here and about 5 babies. So the chickens got the babies, and I killed one of the mice, and the other one ran off. But I guess the next thing I'm going to need is a cat. So we'll see how that goes. Alright guys, so here's the quail that I had found last week when I came back home from the show. For all you quail people out there, can y'all let me know if these are male or female? Because I really don't know how to tell the difference between a male quail and a female quail. So watch out there. Yeah, let's get a picture of that other one right there. So I don't know if these are male or female, but we'll if they're 2 male, well, they'll go in the freezer. If they're a male and a female, well, I guess I'll be raising some little quail next year. So we've had another loss here at Sundown Acres, and Dolly, our chicken, one of our buff chickens, got eaten apparently. I'll show you the pile of feathers over here. Looks like a predator. I think is what happened is she may have jumped over the fence, and a coyote may have gotten her, or a raccoon, or something along those lines. It could have been an aerial predator, being that she was in the neighbor's yard. There was, like I said, there's a big pile of feathers over there, and she's missing. So we know that she's gone. I don't know if it happened during the day when I was here, or when it happened. But I've also noticed a spot in the fence over here. Let me show you what that little spot is over here. So that's what's left of Dolly. So I'm going to take you guys back over here and show you where I can see where a predator's been trying to get into my fence. So I talked before in one of my other videos that I kind of walk my field as much as I possibly can, checking my fence lines, things like that. And generally out in the field, they don't mess with, you don't see any predators out there because Percy's out there with the goats, and we generally don't have any problem. But up here near the house, you're going to have, some kind of predator in the middle of the night. It's nice and dark out here. They're going to come out here and they're going to look to see what they can get into. So I haven't lost any predator, any of my birds inside my yard. But I'll show you what your fence will kind of look like when a predator gets in. I use a no-climb horse fence for my birds, and but this right here, see if I can get a good video for you guys. That right there, you can see where it's pushed over, pulled in, and they started pulling it up from the bottom. But it's pushed over, and something tried to get its head through there. Now, I don't know if it's what kind of predator it is. To be that strong, I'm thinking it's probably a dog or a coyote of some kind trying to get in here. So I'm going to get that straightened out, make sure that that way I can see if they're trying to come back. I lock my birds up at night, so I generally don't have to worry about them. And there's no way they're going to get into that building, I'll tell you right now. And maybe the metal building, yes, but they're not going to get into that wood building over there. It'd have to be something a lot more powerful than a coyote to get in that thing.
So, guys, I want to thank y'all for watching today's video. And remember to like, subscribe, and share the video. And we'll see y'all next time at Sundown Acres.